Dear English learners, today I bring you an extraordinary story of a teenage boy who has just been canonized as a saint on 7 September 2025, becoming the first millennial saint of the Catholic Church. His name is Carlo Acutis, and many now call him God's influencer. Carlo wasn't a famous leader or celebrity. He was just 15 in jeans and sneakers, who loved video games, football, and building websites. Yet with deep faith and the internet as his tool, he created a digital catalogue of Eucharistic miracles that moved hearts across the world. Now, after his sudden death at age 15 in 2006, the Church has recognized him as a saint, not because of fame or power, but because of a life lived simply, faithfully, truly. This story is not just a historical record. It is a powerful message for our modern age. Faith doesn't require grand cathedrals or ancient rituals. Sometimes just a heart open to love and a keyboard connected to the world. As you listen, you will practice your English, simple words, and a story rich in hope. Let this young saint's journey inspire you in your language learning and in your life. Carlo Acutis was born on the 3rd of May 1991 in London to an Italian family and grew up in Milan. At first, nothing about his life seemed unusual. He was a boy who loved football, enjoyed playing video games, and showed a quick talent for computers. His family was not extremely rich or powerful. They were ordinary people living in a busy Italian city. Yet, from these ordinary beginnings came something extraordinary. From a young age, Carlo showed a special devotion to God. He went to Mass regularly, prayed the Rosary, and had a tender heart for people who were poor or lonely. While many of his friends dreamed of success or adventure, Carlo quietly dreamed of something greater, to live close to Jesus and to share that love with the world. What made Carlo remarkable was not only his faith, but the way he expressed it in modern times. With the skills of a teenager and the mind of a programmer, he built a website that recorded Eucharistic miracles around the globe. It was his way of turning the internet, often a place of distraction, into a channel of light. Carlo's name is now written in history, because in 2025, the Catholic Church canonized him as the first millennial saint. His short life, full of simplicity and sincerity, carries a message for our generation. Greatness does not depend on age, wealth, or fame. It begins with a heart that chooses love. Carlo grew up as an only child in a warm Italian home. His days were simple: school, homework, a quick kickabout with friends, and family dinners where stories and laughter filled the room. He was a cheerful boy who noticed small things, like a classmate eating alone, or an elderly neighbor carrying heavy bags, and he quietly stepped in to help. At school, teachers saw a calm curiosity. Carlo liked to ask why things worked the way they did. He enjoyed making little projects for fun, such as fixing a friend's device, or designing a simple poster for a parish event. He was not loud or showy. He worked with care, and he wanted what he made to serve a good purpose. Carlo's heart opened early to people on the margins. If he met someone on the street who looked cold or hungry, he felt it deeply. He shared his pocket money, brought food when he could, and encouraged his friends to do the same. Charity, for him, was not a plan for later. It was a habit for today. He also learned to keep balance. He liked games and sport, but he set limits for himself so that screens did not rule his time. He saved space for silence, for reading, and for being present with others. These small choices shaped a steady inner life. Carlo loved visiting churches and old towns rich with faith. Trips to Assisi touched him in a special way, with its quiet streets and the memory of St. Francis. He began keeping simple notes about places of grace he heard about, short lines, dates, and locations. Like a young archivist who sensed a bigger work ahead, nothing in these years looked famous from the outside. In the ordinary rhythm of childhood, the roots of a remarkable life grew deeper, ready for the tests that would soon arrive. As Carlo entered his teenage years, life brought him both light and shadow. He was still the cheerful boy with a quick smile. But he also began to face challenges that tested his spirit. In school, he sometimes felt different from others. While many classmates chased the newest trends, or tried to impress, Carlo often preferred quiet prayer, time at mass, or long hours building his website. This made him stand out, and not everyone understood him. Some friends even teased him for being too serious about faith. Carlo felt those words, but he never answered with anger. Instead, he carried them silently, offering the pain to God. His mother later said that her son had a gift for transforming hurt into patience. Still, for a teenager, it was not easy to walk a path that felt lonely at times. Another struggle came from within. Carlo loved technology, but he knew how easily it could become addictive or destructive. He once said, "The internet is a gift, but it must be used for the truth." This conviction often placed him in tension with the world around him. He limited his own screen time, even when it cost him popularity, because he wanted to keep his heart free. Then, at the age of 15, Carlo faced the deepest crisis of all. After days of unusual tiredness, doctors gave him the shocking news: acute leukemia, an aggressive form of cancer. His life, so full of promise, was suddenly cut by suffering. Pain spread quickly, and his strength faded. Yet even in the hospital bed, Carlo chose hope. He offered his suffering for the Pope and for the Church, turning his illness into a prayer larger than himself. These struggles, misunderstanding, loneliness, and disease could have crushed his spirit, but for Carlo, they became the fire that refined his faith. In weakness, his soul grew stronger. In pain, his compassion deepened. His short life was moving toward a turning point that would define his legacy forever. The turning point in Carlo Acutis' story came not with fame or fortune, but in the way he faced the final chapter of his life. When the doctors confirmed that he had acute leukemia, he could have responded with fear or despair. He was only 15. He had dreams, projects, and a future that seemed to stretch wide before him. But instead of anger, Carlo showed a peace that surprised everyone around him. He accepted his illness with courage. "I offer all my suffering for the Pope and for the Church," he said. Those words were not empty. Each injection, each wave of pain, became for him a silent prayer. He even told his mother, "I am happy to die because I have lived my life without wasting even a minute on things that do not please God." During those final days in hospital, Carlo asked for the Eucharist to be brought to him. He wanted to stay close to Jesus in every moment. Nurses and doctors noticed his calm spirit. Friends visited him, expecting tears, but found instead a quiet strength that lifted their own hearts. It was as if Carlo himself was already walking toward heaven, and his light was spilling over to everyone who came near. The turning point was not only about his illness, it was about choice. Carlo chose faith over fear, offering his life as a gift rather than holding it tightly for himself. This was the moment that transformed him from a bright boy with a love for computers into a witness whose influence would reach far beyond Milan, far beyond his 15 short years. Carlo Acutis passed away on the 12th of October 2006. He was only 15, yet his short life left behind a legacy far greater than many who lived much longer. His body was laid to rest in Assisi, the hometown of St. Francis, a place that had always inspired him. People who heard his story began to speak of him not only as a kind teenager, but as someone who had shown what holiness could look like in the 21st century. The website he created on Eucharistic miracles continued to spread across the world, reaching millions of visitors. Teachers, priests, and young people used his work to learn, to teach, and to believe again. In a time when the internet was often seen as a place of distraction, Carlo had proven it could also be a channel of light. In 2020, the Church officially recognized his holiness by declaring him blessed. His tomb in Assisi became a place of pilgrimage, where thousands of people came to pray. Young men and women felt close to him because he looked like them, dressed like them, and lived in the same digital culture they knew so well. Carlo showed that sanctity is not locked in the past. It can wear sneakers, play video games, and still shine with love for God. Then, on the 7th of September 2025, history was made. Carlo Acutis was canonized, becoming the first millennial saint. His story now stands as a beacon for our time. Proof that even in an ordinary life, lived with faith and kindness, the extraordinary can happen. The life of Carlo Acutis may seem short, but the lessons it carries are timeless. He reminds us that greatness does not require long years, wealth, or power. It begins with the choices of every day. He chose prayer when others laughed. He chose to use his talents not for himself, but for a purpose bigger than his own comfort. One lesson is clarity of focus. Carlo often said that people run after many things: success, fashion, approval. But these pass quickly. What truly lasts is love for God and love for others. He called the Eucharist his highway to heaven, showing us that faith can be the center of a modern life, not something separate or hidden. Another lesson is the use of gifts. His website on Eucharistic miracles still inspires people across the globe. For today's learners, the message is strong. Whatever skill you have, computers, art, teaching, music, can be shaped into a gift for the world. Carlo also teaches us how to face suffering. When illness came, he did not complain or despair. He offered his pain for others. In this, he showed that even the hardest moments can carry meaning if lived with faith. For English learners like you, he reminds us that every great step begins small. One prayer, one act of kindness, one choice to use your talent for good. And for you, one new word, one clear sentence, one moment of practice can open a new path. Carlo's story whispers gently but firmly, holiness is possible, hope is real, and even the ordinary life of a teenager can shine with extraordinary light. Carlo Acutis is now remembered not only as a teenager from Milan, but as the first millennial saint, canonized in 2025. His story carries a quiet but powerful truth. Holiness is not a dream for the past. It is possible here and now, in the middle of football matches, computer screens, and ordinary family life. Carlo showed us that faith can be lived simply, with jeans and sneakers, with laughter and friendship, and still reach the heart of eternity. History will remember his website, his devotion, his courage in suffering. But perhaps the deepest part of his legacy is this: he taught the world that every life, no matter how short, can echo far beyond its years. In Carlo, we see that sanctity is not about perfection, but about direction. It is about walking steadily towards love, even when the steps are small. What about you? What will you do with the gifts you have? What dream will you carry forward? As you practice English, sentence by sentence, you are already building something lasting. Thank you for walking with me through the life of St. Carlo Acutis. Until next time, my friends, may hope guide your heart, and may your words always carry light.